And he could be like, oh, I did it and I'm fine. You'll be able to do it. And I'm like, okay. Then I do it. I can't move the next day. I'm starting to ask myself, is there something wrong with me? Am I not fit?
Welcome back to the show. I am Coach Jay. I am here with
Coach Rebecca.
and
Coach Mike.
And today we are going to talk about what makes a great coach.
Yes.
Or what should you look for in a coach. Yeah. So we were talking the other day, and we're looking for a new coach. We're hiring. So if you're listening to this, you're looking for a job, you can apply. Go to halefitness.com/hiring, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, we have a link for you and everything. So we're hiring, and we were figuring out writing a new description, and then we were saying, okay, well, what are we looking for in a coach? And we kind of know this, but as we rewrite the description, there's some like traits and things that we look for in a coach, and really these are the things that we look for when we hire coaches at the gym, but also when we hire coaches for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so I thought we'd talk a little bit today about what we look for in a coach and how you can kind of figure that out for yourself if you are looking to hire a coach. And also if you are looking to find a job as a coach, then this will kind of give you a sense of what we're looking for. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm curious because you have a coach, Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it about, like, tell me some of the things that you kind of looked for before you hired that person. What were you looking for?
I was looking for essentially me as a coach.
Fantastic.
Or Wendy or Katie. I was looking for what we offer. And I'll be honest, I couldn't specifically find it.
Yep.
But I found someone who has at least a few of the core values. I mean, it's different because she lives in Ohio. So,
Yeah.
you know, she doesn't have to show up every day positive to me. I only talk to her once a week. But she has, you know, walked the walk. And she asked great questions when I interviewed her. So I came to it kind of knowing what I was looking for, asked a bunch of questions. And biggest thing is she was really curious. And that is one of our core values that we look for is curious. And the way she asked questions, she didn't just tell me what she thought I wanted to hear. She dug deep. So that really resonated with me, and allowed me to trust her.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a really good one. When I'm hiring a coach, I have like 3 coaches at this point. When I'm hiring a coach, one of the first things I look for is that sort of ability to like ask questions, dig a little bit deeper, but also just like challenge me.
Yeah.
You know, I can be very like, however you want to describe it. I can be very pushy. And if somebody is not willing to look me in the eye and say, you know, actually, have you thought about this? Then they're probably not going to be a great coach for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember hearing, you know, if as a coach, we're not supposed to believe the people who come to us, like their excuses or what they tell us. If they were paying us to believe them, then they would be paying us to be their friends, and we would just be shooting.
Yeah.
I won't say the S word, but you know what I mean. But we listen, and then we ask questions and challenge them to make changes.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Mike, what would make you want to hire a coach? Like, so if we back up a little bit, it's like, what situation would you want to hire a coach in the first place?
I think if I wanted to get really into, I was thinking about this because I don't really have coaches. I don't like have a one-on-one coach that I work with like over a period of time. What I tend to do is I get a lot out of group classes in general. Like, I think it's maybe just a holdback from like school.
Well, it's not really about group versus coach. It's
no,
like
it's
you
not,
have like a
not.
result or something like that.
So like I learn a lot in groups, in a group setting, I should say.
Okay.
Right? And I like to kind of seek out knowledge myself. And so I will learn a lot in group stuff. I think that's maybe just from growing up, you know, in school, just being conditioned to do that.
Yeah.
And then when I want to know one specific thing about something I'll do, I will actually, like, you know, in the gym, for example, I'll talk to Katie about, hey, I'm struggling with this one piece of handstand. Can you just look at this handstand and just tell me what's going on?
So
Right?
if you have a specific goal, that's
Yeah.
when you would hire a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. was all this preamble about
Sorry,
you don't need coaches.
No. Yeah,
You totally need
if I have a
coaches.
specific thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, in my mind, right, there's an interesting distinction because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, a coach that's going to sit with me and like, you know, I'm going to work with them for a long period of time versus like someone I'm just going to go to seek out some knowledge and have them help me in a point situation. And I think those are both coaches and they're both valid.
This is really interesting. And so that we're going to dig into this now. This is really interesting. You kind of look at a one-on-one coach as kind of like a therapist or a counselor or something like that.
Yeah.
And for you, you're like, well, I'm only going to use that one-on-one if I have like a specific goal. And go ahead.
Yeah. And part of it is like, I'm never, I was thinking about it. I don't, if I wanted to get like, to be like the best possible XYZ thing that I, you know, in one thing I would probably find a coach and have them like guide me through all those little things.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of like, I like to know a lot about a lot of things. So I never really want to, I never feel like I need to get like completely down the rabbit hole of one thing where I want a coach to guide me through that entire journey.
Dude, all the faces you're making are really cracking me up. What is going through your head, Rebecca?
So what you just said is the reason why I finally chose to hire a coach. I too don't want to be the best at everything. I mean, some of it was like, okay, it's time for me to just get a muscle up.
Right.
Or it's time for me to get better at, you know, this skill. But mostly I just want someone to hold the big picture for me and tell me when I'm doing too much or I'm not doing enough.
Got it.
So for example, I want to get better at muscle up. So she programs these drills, which I could honestly pay $20 a month and find a program to do it for me. She watches my videos. We talk about it each week. But then she also will help me get perspective in terms of what else have I been doing this week? Oh, were they hard because I had also done 100 push-ups because I'm training for Murph on Monday? What is my overall goal? What do I really want to achieve? What is more important to me? Okay, well then maybe you shouldn't do 100 push-ups before you go do your muscle up prep. And so that's really what it is for me. It's not that I want to string 100 muscle ups together. I want to be able to do it, but I also want to understand why I haven't been able to do it in the past.
Right.
Yeah. I'm curious now, Mike. Have you ever hired a one-on-one coach for any particular task?
I mean, I guess growing up, I had like a violin teacher.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like my parents wanted me to do that. So.
That was it.
Yeah, that was
All right.
it.
We got opportunity here.
Yeah, I mean, so for example, like muscle up, right? If I wanted to get better at one, what I would do personally is I would get like that program, or I would figure out, I actually, frankly, like a lot of the muscle up stuff that I've done, I just like went on YouTube and figured it out. But I'm also like very aware of my my boundaries, and like I kind of just try stuff. So maybe I'm just lucky in that sense or whatever, but like.
So I did the same thing with Olympic lifting.
Right.
And so for the last, we'll say decade, I'm like, man, I can lift a lot. I'm pretty good at this. I can lift big weights. You watch hook grip in slow motion. Okay, this is what they're doing. I'm going to practice that thing. And so I learned by watching and maybe picking up random cues I got from other, Fitspiration. And I hire a coach and I'm doing the lift and I'm like, yeah, she's not going to have much to say about me. I had all these things wrong with my technique. Yep. All things learned because I was doing it a way that, they do it for CrossFit. And she's like, hey, how you're moving is okay if you want to string, do DT. But if you want to lift the maximum amount of weight, you are actually not doing it how you should. And in fact, this is how a real weightlifting coach would coach you. Right. And I'm like, oh, so all this literature that I've been reading, on CrossFit sites have been telling me the wrong thing. And at the end of the day, it's it's
not necessarily wrong. It got you to where you are, but it's like you want to continue to move forward.
Yeah. And I mean, quite frankly, what I was doing is probably enough, and I could have lived the rest of my life never hiring a coach to help me lift heavier.
Yeah, I mean,
but
you were nationally ranked lifter.
Yeah, but like I want to get better. There are things that I enjoy doing in fitness and improving in that way. So that's when I'm like, all right, let me just hire someone to get me over the edge.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I was thinking about that, and I guess my take on it for myself is, when we kind of talk to prospective clients, and we're like, hey, what do you want, and how much do you want it, right? 1 out of 10. There's not a lot of stuff for me that's like a 10, right? It's like most of the stuff is like 7 or 8, and I can get to 7 or 8 myself. Or with whatever it is, right?
So
what it is, I think maybe is more like there hasn't been a thing where it's like I want to get to a 10 on this and I can't figure it out myself, or I haven't exhausted all the things that I can do myself to get there, and so like I'm going to do it myself, and that's kind of just my.
So this is really interesting, and what's interesting about it, I think your answer, I agree with your answer. It's like, well, I want to achieve something,
right,
and that's when you would hire a coach.
Yeah,
and that's like part of it is you're like, well, you feel like it needs to be a 10 for you to get to the point where you're going to hire someone to help you.
Yeah.
And actually, the reality that I found, I've spent 30 grand over the last year on coaches, right? And what I have found is that you don't have to be a 10. Like you can be like a 6. Like I'm a 6 of, whatever, wanting to get handstand walks, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, here's the thing. Like I've been talking about getting this Ole lifting thing for a while. And I never hired a coach to help me with this because I was really like a 6 or a 7, like hoping to get these numbers, right? Yep. Worked with Rebecca a little bit, and I was on my way to that, and then something happened, whatever.
Wait, I worked with Rebecca, it was like a week.
I was working out with you for like 3 weeks.
Let's not make it sound
3 weeks. Okay. When I say worked with Rebecca, I mean I was working out with her. Okay. Yeah. She wasn't coaching me.
She wasn't actually coaching.
But what was interesting is I was like a 6 out of 10. Mm-hmm. And I've always kind of been a 6 out of 10. And I made a bet and it made it like a 7 out of 10. And that just made me pay like a little more attention. Mm-hmm. And the thing that actually made the difference was I was lifting and I grabbed Rebecca and I said, tell me what I need to do here. And she gave me a couple of cues. This was like 10 minutes of work. And I hit one of the lifts where even just at a 7 out of 10. Now I'm thinking, if I would have said, Rebecca, I want to hire you to help me over the next 6 to 8 weeks, I would have hit both of my goals. And it's like, how many more months and years is it going to take for me to hit those goals because I'm just at a 7 out of 10, right? And what the thing that's really interesting is it's not really about the Olympic lifts. Like if I hired Rebecca to coach me on Olympic lifts, she would coach me on lifts and she would also go, what about that like flat foot that you have?
Right.
What about how much protein are you eating? Have you thought about this? It seems like you're training every day. Like maybe you want to train 2-3 days a week, right? And so you start asking questions that I never would have considered otherwise. Mm-hmm. And that's actually where the value comes in, because it's not just like, you just think about fitness, for example. It's not just like, hey, I want to lose weight and I can figure out how to do it. It's more like, okay, great. Is losing weight actually that important?
Right.
Is it like one of your goals is to get stronger, right? Well, what if spending 20 minutes a week with a coach works on your technique so that you can get an extra 10-15% on that lift, even though you're a 6 out of 10, right? If that saves you, because you're going through like strength cycles, let's say that extra 15% saves you like 3 cycles. That's like 3 months of work. Like that's kind of worth it,
right?
Right? And that's what I found. We just had Hillary was our brand coach here last weekend, and like she was saying a lot of things that I kind of knew because I do lots of research just like you do, but it was different hearing the examples of how she's helped people do it, or how she's done it herself, or the actual day-to-day of these are the things to do, or she wrote me a bunch of scripts like here's what you need to produce, and it's like. It's that extra 10-20% that makes the difference, right? Because you can find all this stuff on the internet, like you said.
And it's exhausting to do that, or even just asking, people in the gym or other coaches. I found with that you get slightly different answers. I mean, the big things are the same, but Jay may be able to do 5 workouts in one day and feel great. And so I might say something like, man, I don't think I want to do part 2 because it's going to wreck me tomorrow. And he could be like, oh, I did it and I'm fine. You'll be able to do it. And I'm like, okay, I did it. Then I do it. I can't move the next day. I'm starting to ask myself, is there something wrong with me? Am I not fit? And it's just that we're two different people.
Let me go Google that.
Yeah, let me Google. Is there something wrong with me? Why can't I do this?
5 workouts in a day.
Yeah, and And it could be that I used to work out with, college age kids, and I'm a decade older than them, and they're spending 3 hours at the gym, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm tired. And so even though there's an element of common sense, like if I were to be coaching someone in that same situation, I could easily say, you're 10 years older than them. But when it applies to me, we're always the outlier in our own minds. And it's like, I should be able to do this. So having someone just remind you that, hey, you're 41 and they're 21.
Yeah.
Go home and take a nap.
Yeah. Or, oh, hey, I'm looking at your recovery scores and you've only been sleeping 6 hours a night for the last 2 weeks. Maybe 1 rep max clean and jerk is not great.
Yeah.
And
it's silly that, some of the things that I can easily talk through with my clients, like I can see their big picture and I'm like, okay, that makes sense that you're feeling like this. Yeah, don't do that workout. And then I'm running through that same dialogue in my head and like, oh, should I go do this hero workout even though I'm wrecked? And if I were fit, I would be able to do it. And I have to almost say to myself, what would I tell me?
Yep.
And that's when I'm finally like, you know what? I just need to hire a coach to just tell me. Like, if anything,
Yeah.
it's just a voice of reason.
Yeah. So this is actually really good because I think we've all had this mentality in the past. And it's only when I've started to see results from hiring someone who, by my perception, actually knows about the same as I do, or maybe even a little bit less, but just has a different eye. And then I saw the results that I get from that. It's just like, wow, I actually kind of know more about this than you as a coach, but you're helping me get the results. This is absolutely worth it because I don't have to think about this. I never have to put my coach hat on when I'm thinking of myself.
Yeah.
Right?
And it frees up so much time.
Yeah.
To do other things.
Yeah.
To like read a book or hang out because you're no longer Googling like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Why can't I do Murph after doing DT?
Yeah. So, I think this idea, like you have some sort of thing that you want to achieve. Mm-hmm. And as you start to achieve that thing, maybe, or, you start to think like, how am I going to get there? Maybe it's a 60-day, 90-day plan, whatever it is. Hiring a coach to help you achieve that and then seeing what other things you can get to, right? One of the, we have like business coaches. And one of the things I realized is signing up for groups is great to gather information, but it's not great to tailor stuff to you.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you need to have somebody that will tailor the thing to you and tell you the exact thing that you need to hear at the exact time you need to hear it. Versus like, here's all the information, sort it out, and come back to me, right? And that's I think the main difference between sort of a coaching and you're just like attending, sessions or just part of a group. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so now, if I can, I will always hire one-on-one coaches because even if I only get something out of like 2 of those sessions, most of the time it's worth it because it just fills in gaps that I would have had otherwise. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's my I guess I just think about it a little differently in my mind, but maybe I just need to try it, right? Because to me, like if I'm committing to a coach, then I'm gonna like it's like I'm all in. It's like it's gonna be a 10. I'm not gonna settle for just learning a couple of things. It's like, is this gonna work or not? Yeah. And then it's like, and for me, like when I do that.
Wait. Are you saying that we don't do that?
No. No, I'm saying that when I commit, if I were to commit and hire a coach, that's what I would do, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And I know that that's what we do here. Yeah. But like most of these things, like I'm not willing to. I have so many things I want to do. It's not none of these things are really like, hey, I want to.
Yeah.
Go all in on this thing, and like that's my focus. You know what I mean? So
okay, this is great.
Which is like just how I.
No. Listen. Yeah. This is really great. This is actually how most people achieve this. Most people coming in here, right? Someone says they want to lose 20 pounds, right? And if you're thinking like, if you are thinking, let's say you want to lose 20 pounds, you come into a gym like this, and we say, okay, great, you're gonna hire a coach. Our expectation isn't that you are going to reorient every aspect of your life to go 10 out of 10 on this and this thing only.
Yeah.
Our expectation is that we're going to find a plan that fits into your life that you can go 10 out of 10 on that plan. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's just like, well, maybe you do go out every weekend, with your friends. Great. We're going to come up with a plan that helps you do that. And you're going to go 10 out of 10 on the plan we come up with that works in your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like if you say I want to get a muscle up and I need to get it in 6 weeks or whatever, and it's like, okay, great. here's the plan, and it's going to require that you quit your job and do muscle up training every single day for 6 weeks. And you're like, no, I don't really want it. Okay, great. Well, maybe let's make it a 6-month plan instead. Right. And then you go, okay, great. I can go all in on that. That's like how it actually works. Yeah. Versus like, you're going to follow this thing 6 weeks. You're going to achieve the result. You're going to be amazing. How it actually works is like, here's my life. Here's what I'm going to do. Help me figure out what direction I want to go to the level that I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
I've found that I've had more free time since hiring a coach because I'm no longer thinking I have to do an hour and a half of lifting. And then I need to do class or I need to do conditioning. I can actually just do the 3 things. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's all I'm doing today. Because I'm so used to years of just lifting 5 days a week for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is all I'm doing. And yet I'm still capable of lifting heavy. Wow. Why didn't I hire someone sooner? That's really.
And you see like glimpses of that, right? It's just like, I kind of hurt my leg and I've been kind of on and off, like not training as much. And it's like, some days I'll come in with all this like rest because I haven't been training as much and just demolish a workout that would have crushed me before.
Yep.
And I'm like, if I had somebody that was telling me take this day off, then like I would have been doing this the entire time. Right. So yeah, I don't have an actual like fitness coach. I have a nutrition coach.
It's interesting. But, you can also tell the things you can also learn about a lot about yourself, the things you don't tell your coach too. Like, I don't want to tell my coach that that day that I did 100 push-ups in a workout and I'm doing the muscle up video, sending it to her and they're just looking like trash. And I'm like, I don't want to tell her that I did 100 push-ups like 2 days before. And so that was just, for me, that was some feedback. I'm like, okay, next week I'm not going to do the push-up stuff and let's see how it goes. And I went I was using bands for this and I did like 2 band sizes down and it felt amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was afraid to tell her the week before, I knew that, okay, I should not be doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Mike has this like 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 goal, let's say, to get stronger, right? So if we're going to find a coach for Mike, what are we going to look for? So you were saying they have to walk the walk. So you probably want them to be strong or have helped other people get strong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's some great strength. Like, if whoever's the strength and conditioning coach for the Warriors is like some skinny dude, but he was able to get like all those guys. Not much I know about NBA basketball. All those guys,
those tall guys,
to get
stronger.
Then I'm gonna hire him. So it's not just they walk the walk themselves, but they have a portfolio of people that they have helped.
Yeah. So they maybe they found something that works and it's like repeatable with other people besides them.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things you're looking for. We have a couple of values that we look for, right? So, we're looking for, like you mentioned earlier, someone who's positive, right? It's just like, there's a lot of different coaches and maybe this isn't for everyone, but like if your coach is like shaming you to do the thing, probably not going to resonate with me.
Yeah. I mean, related to that one, I think it's probably the same thing as like, I feel like they need to be your champion. Like they need to like see what you can do and like always hold you to like,
they think you're capable of more.
Yeah. They've got to feel like you're capable of more than you're doing now.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are also kind of trying to pull you in there when you get stuck, because that's the hard part is not when everything's going well. The hard part's when it's not working and you're like, fuck, this sucks. Like, I don't want to do this work. They're the ones that are like, actually, no, you need to do X because this is what's going to make it good. And, maybe pushing you more than you are comfortable with.
Yeah. Yeah. So they kind of see this thing for you more. So that's that positive, right? We said curious, which tell me more. Like you mentioned this before. What does that mean to you in the coach that we're going to hire for Mike?
So yeah, what is Mike looking for? So if they were to say, okay, Mike, here is Wendler, or
here's a strength program.
Here's a strength program. And then Mike's like, well, I have kids and I have this job and I only have an hour. And they're like, well, you clearly don't want it enough. Just do it. Check back in. Then that's not a good fit. Okay, so
that's actually how most coaches do it. It's just like, you want to get stronger? Here, do this program, eat this protein, whatever. Like,
yeah. And, week 1 or 2, that could be it. I mean, honestly, people come in and they think they want one thing. And I found that, with men specifically, they think I need all this volume and I need to lift more, and I'm not getting stronger because I'm not lifting enough. In my mind, I'm like, you're actually not recovering enough, and you're not eating enough protein. But okay, let's see what happens for 2 weeks, and then checking back in. So with curiosity, it's how is this working? What isn't working? What is working?
Yeah.
What will continue on this path? Because another thing is burnout. Like, it's cool to do the fun things for a month, but then, you want to go on vacation and you're like, well, my coach says I have to do this thing.
Yeah.
So does it fit into your life? Yep. And just asking lots of questions.
Yeah, yep. I would. Yeah. So I would kind of back up and say, like, if the coach, after, a 10-minute conversation with you, just gives you the program, I would run away from that coach.
Yeah.
Right. What I would be looking for is a coach that would ask me questions, especially as a one-on-one coach. Like, they ask you a ton of questions about what you're doing now, what you've tried in the past. Do you have any injuries? Like, why is this important to you? What is your life like, et cetera, so that they know the big picture. And then they may still just give you the regular strength program, but now they know the context behind it. And when you say, well, I couldn't make it because I had to go to my kid's dance recital or whatever, it's like, great. Okay, I understand that. Like, how can we scale this to the point where you can make it? Mm-hmm. And I see this a lot. Like, coaches, they think, this is just really common. Coaches overcomplicate stuff so that they can give people a really slick looking program that doesn't actually address the reason why the person signed up in the first place.
Yep.
And really, it's really easy to come up with a program if you know everything about your client, right? And so that curiosity is part of it.
Yeah.
But also, on the flip side, the same curiosity that leads you to try to solve your own problems, you have to have that for your clients, right? It's just like, well, okay, we're going to try this thing. You try this strength progression didn't work. I got to find a new strength progression for my client. And like some coaches, I worked with many of them, they try something, it doesn't work, and then they think, oh, either the client isn't doing the thing because they're lying about it, or I'm a bad coach. Versus like, well, maybe this is just feedback and I can use it to help improve my program and find out something that would work better.
Yeah. I think that was, for me, that's being able to admit that that whatever they're doing isn't working, or that they were wrong about X, right? Yeah. And either figuring out how to address it, or maybe being okay just bringing other people to help. Yeah. Right? And that's what we do. Like, we have a team of people that like helps you with your goal.
And as I was thinking through these values, and because I was doing this, like, if I were to give up one of these, which one would it be, or which ones were the most important? And I feel like curiosity and just being brave are, although consistent's a good one too. Honestly,
that's why we have all four.
But the positive was the one that kind of took forth out of all of it, even though you don't really want to be around a negative person, but what you were just saying, it does take a lot of bravery to admit, being wrong and saying, hey, this didn't work. Let's try something else. So that's another core value, just being brave.
So that would be the third one. So we've got positive, curious, brave. Right? Yeah. So how would you, like, how does that show up?
Yeah. So in quite a few ways. So, what Mike was saying, reflecting when something goes wrong or doesn't work, and being able to say, okay, this didn't work. I am not bad. How will I grow from that? So using these as learning opportunities. Yep. And you do have to be brave to
admit you're wrong.
Just to admit you're wrong. Yeah. So it's like the Venn diagram of curious and brave is vulnerable, maybe? I don't know. So vulnerability in that sense is important. And then also brave, just doing something that especially when you're a beginner, like going into, even if you have experience coaching, just going into a new place and just being brave and trying new things. Or, Coach Christina is a great example when I think of brave. Like, she just, tackles new clients, and she'll say to me, like, I'm a little nervous about X. And she gets it out of her system and she goes to work and she's so successful at it. And Katie's the same way. She moved across the country. So yeah, allowing yourself to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. I would also add, it shows up a lot when you ask uncomfortable questions to your clients, right? It's just like, it's just super easy for a client to come in with their own agenda and just be like, I did this, I did that. I don't like this program or whatever. And being able to kind of stop and say, that's interesting. Like we agreed this thing and you did something else. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Versus like, okay, client, I'm going to just do whatever you say. Right. Yeah. And really it's that extra question, that uncomfortable conversation, that often is what makes the difference when you're coaching somebody. Is just like, I'll be coaching someone for 6 months and it's like 3 uncomfortable conversations that took 10 minutes each were the entire reason why they got success.
Yeah.
Right. And so just being brave and, being willing to get uncomfortable.
It's kind of like what Rebecca was saying earlier, like you're not hiring a friend.
Yeah.
You're hiring a coach, right?
Yeah.
They're supposed to tell you like what's not going well, what is going well, and get you to do the thing.
Yeah. And you have to be comfortable potentially not being liked or having a moment where they're mad at you.
Yeah.
And not,
I'm very comfortable with
that. Not wanting to like fix things, like apologize or like, oh, okay, well, let's switch it to what you want because I don't want you to be mad. Like, I'm going to give you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was a book, I forget what it's called. It's like Tim Grover, the guy who coached Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. Yeah. And his book, the way he kind of writes it, I listened to the audiobook, it's like very direct, very straightforward. And you're thinking about it like, if you're going to coach the best basketball players in the world, you have to be very direct and very confident, because if there's any part of that where you are not confident, they're going to steamroll you and they're going to find another coach, because like you're trying to help them be better than the best in the world, which they currently are. And it's like the confidence and the bravery is just such a huge part of that. Mm-hmm. And so, a good coach is actually going to tell you what you really need to hear, but you don't want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the last one you said was consistent.
Yes.
So of the 4 core values. So why is that important?
Well, we find that even with our clients, like the accountability and like actually repeating something over a period of time, you build that habit.
Yep.
And that's ultimately the biggest thing that's going to affect your long-term change, your long-term goal, right?
Yeah.
Like it's easy to get on a diet and get some gains and results within a couple of weeks.
Yep.
But what's hard is sustaining that over time.
Yep.
Same for any sort of fitness, any sort of long-term goal you have, right?
Yep.
And so if you can figure out a way to do that, then that's going to get you to your goal. And basically your coach is there. The biggest thing they're going to do is like make sure that you're actually doing that work and being consistent.
Yeah.
So if your coach isn't consistent and they can't like show up on time for your appointments and like make sure that you're doing your work, like there's no way,
There's no way you're going to be consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're not going to out-consistent your coach.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything to add there?
Yeah. So I once worked with someone who was probably the definition of inconsistent, where this wasn't here. So it's not like, don't be listening to this and be like, oh, which coach is this? This is somewhere else. I won't even say I said a coach, but anyway. And the question, it became almost like a joke amongst the members of, which we'll call them Peter Rabbit. Which Peter Rabbit are we getting today? Like, is Peter Rabbit going to be in a bad mood? Is Peter Rabbit going to be in a good mood? Like, which Peter Rabbit? And then, as the day goes on, it's like, oh, we got mad Peter Rabbit today. And everybody in the gym knew this. It's like, you don't know which Peter Rabbit you're going to get. And so, like, that is not what we want.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's going on, I know that you're going to show up to class and, consistently bring energy. You're going to
show up for the sessions. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so...
And you're going to ask the same questions and like you're going to keep pushing for the result that the client said they wanted.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that comes with trust then. So at the end of the day, if we're talking, bringing it full circle, if we're talking about hiring a coach, we have to be able to trust you that, you are going to do the thing that you say you're going to do. And for me, that's what consistency is all about.
Yeah. And I've found just working with clients, if you do those 4 things, and then you're able to get just amazing results for your clients, and they never really, like, they don't want to leave,
Yeah.
you know, because it's like, you know, they sign up with this idea, maybe I'm a 7 out of 10, I want to get stronger. And then you end up changing, you end up systematically changing other parts of their life, which is actually the biggest value, I think, in hiring a coach. It's like you unlock this one little thing, and now it opens up 10 other things that your coach can sometimes help you unlock as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're going to get you a strength coach, Mike. That's what it is. Well, actually, I didn't even ask you what your goal was, because I'm not your coach. Anything else that people should be looking for in a coach?
I mean, I guess for me, there's a bit of like, you know, you're saying like you don't know if you're gonna get mean Peter Rabbit or happy Peter Rabbit, right?
Yeah.
There is also, you know, related to bravery and consistency, like they just need to, they don't always have to be the same way with you. They just need to make sure that you need to make sure you're getting the same result with them, right? And then when I say in that is like, it's actually important for your coach to be human sometimes, right? Like they can't be this perfect person. Yeah. I mean, you know, they can't be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
And it's actually important for the client to realize that as well.
Yeah.
And to see like, oh, actually they struggle with the same things I do. And
That's part of being brave.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
exactly.
Just,
It's that bravery piece. And so, you know, they don't have to be the perfect, always do XYZ thing all the time, but they need to be enough that like you can actually be consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you look for in a coach?
Me?
Anyone? Nope.
No, it's freeing to have a coach to just sort of hold space for you, and you can think about other things.
Yeah. One of the things I look for, we don't really talk about this, but the coach has to have their own sort of journey and goals that they're going through. Like, you give the example of the strength coach for the Golden State Warriors. They might be a skinny person, right? And maybe they don't care about personally getting strong, but they have other things in their life that they're going for, because I feel like you only grow to the level of the people around you. And if your coach is not growing, then you're not going to grow at a certain point. Yeah. Like you'll have to find a new coach.
Yeah.
And especially if you have a long-term relationship, you get to learn more and more about it. And it's just like, if your coach is like, yeah, after this, I just go straight to the bar and like get blitzed every night. And then, and it's just like at a certain point, you're like, okay, well, I mean, this is, I look to you as inspiration, and, you're doing a thing that's probably not going to serve me. Mm-hmm. So maybe I need to find another coach. So for me, it's important that my coach is constantly growing as well. Yeah. So I think go ahead.
Sorry. Would you categorize that under curious? Like constantly looking for, I don't know, more information?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And honestly, like that's what for the longest time, I thought that was the only definition of curious. And then I thought about it more because we had this whole like DM thing about like curious, and I was like, curious is not that important. And then I thought about it. I was like, actually, it's the whole thing about asking your clients how they're doing and wanting that. That's also the other angle of curiosity.
It's also it's the other angle. Yeah, but it's also like when we have conversations with people that are coming in, it's just like I want to know everything about this person to find out if it's a good fit. Maybe this isn't the right person for me, right? And so I would say that curious is number one. Actually. For me, it's like if you're not curious, then like at a certain point your knowledge ends. And that's all I can look to you for, right?
I would say curious, brave, consistent, and positive.
Yeah. You don't care about positive?
It's the fourth.
All right, excellent.
I think he's happy, Peter. Peter. He just needs, brave Peter.
What's funny though? I will say, if you are curious and you're willing to get uncomfortable and you keep showing up, you tend to be more positive.
Yeah.
Or you hide your negativity behind questions.
But it's hard to be continually curious if you're always negative.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Because you're shutting the world down, right?
Just a circle.
Yeah, it is. Maybe we could drop positive, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so if you're looking for a coach, this is a great criteria to use. Feel free to use it when you're trying to hire your next coach. But also, if you're looking to be a coach here, do you have those 4 qualities? Because those are really the things we're looking for. It's actually less important for you to have experience and more important for you to be like a 10 out of 10 on those 4 things. Because we have found, with a lot of our coaches, they started off as members, or they were, not as experienced, or even if they came from another place, it wasn't the same experience. So we had to like really focus on the qualities to help them develop. So yeah, if you are thinking about working with us, go develop those things and then reach out.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
No, that's great.
Solid. Thank you all for joining us. We will see you in the next one.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, we've got plenty of others. Go check out this one over here.